Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the third and last part of the first lecture. So in the last part, I have discussed that what is the basic difference between the present value and the future value of the money. The present value is the what which you have today, and the future value is that what you are going to expect after a time period. It depends upon the two things. One is the number of the time period, which one is the time period, and another one is the interest rate. In the earlier stages, I have discussed that what would the situation if you invested today and you want to get it after the 5 years. That is the other situations. Now this is the situation that if you are going to invest it today and wants to get a stream that in the coming year, in the year after the present year, and the year after that, so that it is going to generate a series of the payments. So if there is a series of the payments, then what will be the situation? Then how you are going to decide that you have to invest in this project or you have not to invest in this project? That it can be depicted from this formula. So the present value of the stream of the future amounts received at the end of each period for the time period for n periods. The formula will remain the same, but it will be extended till the number of the time periods. If the number of the time periods is equal to 5, then it will be like this. It will, in the first history, you have to take the power of the year 1, then the 2, then 3, then 4, and then 5 up to the n years, and after that you have to sum up. This formula can be written like this, that PV is equal to summation of time period ranges from the 1 year to up to the n years or the n months, then the future value for the time period t and 1 plus it. By summing up all the answers of these streams, then we will get the present value. And this present value formula is different from that because that was involved with the lump sum amount, and this one is involved with reference to the series of the payments. For example, the present value of the amount like this, some further calculations are based upon the amount. PV is equal to future value into 1 plus I raised to power t, and the bracketed amount, which is like this, it is termed as the present value interest factor. It means that the present value will be equal to future value into which will be equal to the present value interest factor. So in terms of the accountings, we have got the present value interest factor tables which help us to evaluate the answers quickly like this. For example, if we have to calculate the present value interest factor, it depends upon two things. One is the time period, another one is the interest rate. Both are given above. Like time period n value is equal to 1, interest rate is equal to 0.08. By putting in the value, then it will be equal to 1 over 1 plus 0.08 raised to power 1. And this is the answer. If the interest rate is equal to 10%, then the answer will be equal to 1 divided by 1 plus 0.1 whole raised to power, that is equal to 1 because of the time period is equal to 1. If you are dealing with type like suppose this value, then it will be equal to 1 divided by 1 plus interest rate is equal to 12%, then it will be equal to 0.12 and whole raised to power 10. So by putting up different values, we are going to give the present value interest factors, and the present value interest factor table can be computed as below. It means if we have got these types of values, whatever the future value is, we can multiply this value with this one, and we can also find out the answer. For example, if the future value is equal to 10, and the time period is also equal to 10 and the interest rate is equal to 12, then how can we find out the present value? By 10 multiplied by the 0.320, it will be equal to 3.2. It will be equal to 3.2. Then the price, picking the values for the 10% and the 10 periods, we get the 0.3855. It will be equal to the present value of the $100,000 will be equal to multiplied by 0.3855 will equal to 38,505.50. Now, what will be the effect if you are going to get the annuity? The present value of an annuity can be thought as the sum of the present value of the each several amounts. Each several amounts means the formula is going to remain the same, but annuities means that we will get the same value but the future value here, the future value is going to remain the same, then we can find out the answers depending upon these same two things. One is the interest rate and the other one is the time period. By putting up the values up to the 3 time periods, 1, 2 and 3, we are going to get the answer. If for example we have got to get the present value interest factors table, which we have described earlier, we can find out easily and sum up like this will be the answer. Okay, so present value of the annuity is given by PV. The same value is there. For example, this is the interest rate, present value interest factors tables. You can use these types of tables and you can easily find out the answer, which you have to do within your quizzes. Okay, the same thing, if we have decided to find out the present value of the payment, which is 150 payments of the 30 months. Okay, the payment, the future value remains the 150 at the 24% interest rate. Then the 24% interest rate means the interest rate is annual, but if we are, because of the fact we are dealing with the monthly returns, then we have to convert this annual interest rate into the monthly interest rate. How can we do that? By dividing the 24 with the number of the months, that is equal to 12. The result is the 2% interest rate. Now this 2% interest rate is the monthly interest rate. By putting up the values in this and solving it for the 30 different time periods, and we have to evaluate it, then this will become the present value of the annuity. Okay, net present value. You can see the present value you have evaluated, but the new concept is a new term is being attached with it, that is the net present value. Now net term represents when we have to subtract something from the present value. Okay, suppose the managerial entity is being used to make up the purchasing decisions or the investment decision. So suppose the manager can purchase a stream of the future receipts in the future by spending the C or dollar, that is the amount of the investment. The net present value will be equal to, net present value will be equal to the present value minus cost. So it means something has been deducted from the present value, that's why it is termed as the net present value. The CN rule is that if the present value is less than 0, we should reject the project because of the fact the future value is not going to exceed the present cost. If the net present value is greater than 0, then we have to accept the project. For example, a manager of the automated project is contemplating the purchase of a new machine that will cost about $300,000 and has a useful lifespan of 5 years. So the N is equal to 5. The machine will yield year-end cost reductions of the automated products of $50,000 in the future values, $50,000 in the year 1, $60,000 in the year 2, $75 in the year 3, and $90,000 in the year 4 and 5. What is the present value? The cost of saving the machine if the interest rate is 8%. Should the manager purchase the machine or not? So this one is the future value of the first year, future value second year, future value third year, fourth year, and fifth year. This is the interest rate, as the interest rate is equal to 8%. So 1 plus 0.8 is equal to 1.08, and it is raised to power 1. That's why it is equal to 1. It is raised to power 2, raised to power 3, 4 and 5. And the total amount is equal to 284,679. Now net present value is equal to present value minus cost, and the answer is equal to negative. It is equal to 15,321, and according to the rule, if the NPV is less than 0, we should reject the project. We are not going to purchase the machine. The manager decides that he is not going to purchase the machine. Now, at last topic is that is the marginal analysis. Marginal analysis or the incremental analysis. This is the analysis which we are going to follow for the rest of the market structure in all types of the market structure. Now, there are some control variables. What do you mean by the control variables? Control variables are actually those which are under our consideration. Output. It means that the oil firms are always concerned with the level of the production, that is reference to that of the output. Some firms are relevant towards the price, that what price is going to be offered. Control variable is actually that variable according to which your policy and your all objectives are going to be formulated. You cannot control all the variables at the same time. Your major focus must be on 1 or 2 variables on which you have to focus and leave the other one like that. Product quality. Some firms are majorly concerned regarding the quality of the product apart from the output and price. Some are very much concerned regarding their advertisement and some are concerned with the research and the development. So these are different control variables which a manager or a firm has to undertake in order to make their objectives and in order to make their policies. So the basic managerial question is that how much of the control variable should be used to maximize the net benefit. Now the net benefit is actually your profit. So how much of the output to be produced to maximize the profit, how much the price to be charged to maximize the profit, what type of the product quality should be offered to maximize the product, what type of advertisement should be offered in order to maximize the profit, and what type of research and development facility should be offered in order to maximize the profit. So these are the 5 different types of the questions. You may take any one of them as your control variable, and you have to set it as your objective, and you have to formulate the policy accordingly. So net benefit is actually equal to the profit. Profit is always equal to the total revenue minus total cost. So there's a concept of the marginal benefit, which is something a little less familiar to you, but if I replace this marginal benefit with the marginal revenue, it will be the marginal revenue or the marginal profit. It will be much familiar to you in terms of the firm analysis. So it's a change in the total profit arising from the change in the control variable. Now in this case, your control variable is the quantity. So if you change your production by 1 unit, what will be the change in your profit? If your control variable is equal to the price, then if you change your price by $1, what will be the change in your total profit? If your control variable is the advertisement, then if you change your advertisement by suppose $10,000, what will be the change in your profit? So in calculus, the slope of the total benefit, the slope of your profit curve is going to represent the actual your marginal profits concept. Marginal cost, you are much familiar by the marginal cost. Marginal cost is the rate of change of the cost, and rate of change of cost means that how much of the quantity due to the production of an extra unit, what type of change in the cost you are incurring, and the slope of the total cost curve, it represents the marginal cost. Now the marginal principle is that in order to maximize the net benefits, maximal net benefits means your profit, the marginal control variable must be increased up to the point where marginal benefit is equal to the marginal cost, where your marginal revenue is equal to your marginal cost. If marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, it means that the last unit of the control variable increased profit more than it is to be increased, then you should increase the production. If the marginal revenue is less than the marginal cost, इसका मतलब होता है कि पिछला यूनिट जो हमने बेचा है उससे हमें कम पैसे मिले हैं as compared के हमारी cost ज़्यादा आई थी, then we should reduce our level of the production. Geometry like this. This is your marginal. This is the benefits. This is the cost. And the difference between the cost and the benefit, cost and the revenue, it represents your profit. The slope of the cost curve, it represents the marginal cost, and the slope of the benefit curve represents the marginal benefit. This is your profit curve, and this is the maximum at this point. And the slope of the profit curve represents the marginal net benefit, maximum net benefit. And this is the, you can say, summarization of your whole of the concept of the marginal analysis. It means that you know that we start from this one, that your marginal revenue curve is negatively sloped, your maximum net benefit is also negatively sloped, your marginal cost curve is always positively sloped. Now these 3 curves are linked like this. This is the difference between the revenue curve and the cost curve. So the difference between these 2 curves represents the profit, and you can say the profit is maximum over here, profit is maximum over here, and it is that point where your marginal revenue curve is going to intersect your marginal cost curve. So this is the incremental analysis, and this all incremental analysis is based upon your control variable, and your control variable within this case is the level of the quantity, which we are going to elaborate it further in different types of the market structure. So this is the end of your first lecture. Okay, take care. Allah Hafiz.